Welcome back to the Road Show this morning in the Buzz. In an interview last night with Oprah Winfrey, President Barack Obama gave himself a good, solid B-plus grade for his first year in office. Primetime Special covered his year in office so far through Obama's eyes. The President said that the only thing that stands in the way of giving himself a better grade is the fact that some elements of his agenda remain undone, mainly health care reform and putting more Americans back to work. Obama said, quote, "The biggest burden on me now is that the economic growth has happened, but job growth has not happened." So what do you guys think about this grade? Do you agree with his grade?
I think he should have never given a grade. Yeah, for someone to ask, what do you think? What would you rate yourself as? I'd say, I'm going to stay away from that. I'll let the people decide, because it's not his decision to make what grade he gets. If I got to give myself grades in high school, they'd all be A's.
I have to agree with you there. What do you think, Vince?
Yeah, that's a triple downer. I agree. I don't think you should be giving yourself a grade. The American people give you the grade. I think it's somewhat, I don't know, but it just appears to be coming off as somewhat arrogant to give yourself a grade, especially one of a B plus, and then add on to it saying, well, it would be higher if not for X, Y, and Z.
Right. Yeah. I have to give Michelle Obama's dress that we saw in that video there an A plus. I will say that. The other thing, though, is that I'll say fine, it's a B for effort, but when you're looking at an economy that is a D or an F grade, how do you resolve those two?
It's not just that. He's got 6 or 7 things on the table that need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
He's putting, in my opinion, he's got the cart before the horse, and he's putting all his eggs in his basket in health care. I think all the eggs in the basket should be putting people back to work.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, especially here in the Ocean State, where we have such a high unemployment rate, we want to see our home values go back up. We want to see our neighbors go back to work.
How about just cashing a paycheck?
Yeah. Exactly. And I'll tell you, with the jobs comes health care.
Yeah.
So there's your first half of health care. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm actually for a health care reform. I'm completely for it, but the jobs should be the first thing.
But this health care has become so convoluted.
Yeah.
It has been watered down so many times, changed so many different times, that you can't make heads or tails of it on a daily basis.
By the end of this, we'll have a free Band-Aids.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't. And the other thing that he talks about is that, and he says here, quote, "We are on our way out of Iraq." What does that mean?
Right.
At the end of the day, we leave Iraq, but what do we leave?
Well,
does the country then go back into turmoil, and we have to go back?
Well, not only that, but in Afghanistan, there is a date for removing troops, but that's been widely criticized by John McCain and others who say, listen, if you announce a date that you're leaving, that only emboldens the Taliban.
Listen, all you have to do is go back to history. England tried to take over Afghanistan and Iraq back in the 20s. They couldn't do it. They had to pull out with their tail between their legs. The Russians, or I should say the Soviets at the time in the 80s, went in there with a massive force and had to do the same thing.
Right.
Afghanistan is an extremely, extremely difficult place to conquer, and once you fear that if you pull out, that you have nothing but chaos in the tribal leaders again. And I fear that that's what you're going to have.
I have to ask Courtney Caladri what people are saying on the live blog, because, Courtney, I think at the front of everybody's minds is this idea that people, especially in the Ocean State, they just want to get back to work.
Absolutely. I mean, that is the consensus here on the live blog, and all the comments sound exactly the same. Let me read a few of them for you on our live blog, foxprovidence.com. This one's from one artist who says, while health care reform is something we need to do, finding a job to pay for health care is more important, I think. And this one here is from Lisa, and she says, I think jobs come first because everyone needs a job to survive, and the health care can be taken care of with a job, hopefully. Here is our poll on foxprovidence.com. Which of these do you think the president and America need to work on most? A, health care reform, B, job growth, or C, the war? And you can weigh in there. And also on Facebook, we've got a few comments so far. And this one's from Corey Freitas. He says, the economy has to be the biggest issue right now that needs to be worked on. Obama is at least making an effort to do something and deserves a B+, he said. And Patricia Fargley says, economy, war, and helping the USA. And he needs to make it clear no bonuses for bailout, even if they pay it back quickly. So that's where some of our viewers stand right now. But I'll be back in about a half hour to see what the rest of you have said in our poll. For now, back to the kitchen. Lily, what are you cooking now?